Well, hello and welcome to episode 6 of the Hull Seahawks Behind the Curtain podcast. We've got a fantastic show planned for you today, a couple of bits of news from around the club, and we've also joined by a very, very special guest. I'll be your host for today. My name is Connor Lynn, if you don't know me already. We've also got Matty Davis, the head coach and GM of the Seahawks, joining us once again. And we've got our special guest. We've got our new import centre joining us all the way from North America. We've got Bobby Young. Thanks very much for joining us, Bobby.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
And I'm sure, Matt, you'll be very excited to introduce Bobby to the Seahawks faithful.
Yeah, it's like we said last week, it's a great bit of news for us and the club and everyone involved. It's exciting times, obviously bringing Bobby in. And yeah, to get into chat to him tonight, it's great. Fans get to meet him before he actually comes and gets to know a little bit more about him.
Certainly so. And we'll get to all that as we head on through the rest of today's show. But we do just want to start off with a bit of news from elsewhere in the hockey world in the UK. And that is with the very sad news that broke last week regarding Alex Graham of the Sheffield Steelers. Was horrible news for any hockey fan to hear the passing of such a young talent. Someone who no matter what level of British hockey you follow, you've seen Alex Graham, you know of Alex Graham, you know what a player and what a talent they are, and what could have been. And of course, we just want to send our best wishes to Alex's family, friends, to the hockey community in Sheffield and further afar. And that's echoed from everyone in the Seahawks club, isn't it, Matty?
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously, such a sad week this week, and everyone around the game and probably even further afield, when anyone sees a 20-year-old kid die, it's whether it's sport or anything, it's not what anyone wants to see. And yeah, when I found out, um, honestly, it was a really tough time. I don't know if obviously now I've got kids and I think you think about things differently. And look, that kid is such a bad, just part of our life, I guess, in terms of us as people, that someone so talented and such a good kid goes way before his time. And yeah, I mean, I can't say enough good words about him. I didn't know him sort of really, really well, but I knew him well enough. We had quite a lot of conversation, especially last year. Um, such a good lad, and I mean, what a player. He had such a long career in front of him. He'd have been a long time elite league player, and who knows, maybe Europe. It's such a yeah. I mean, I can't. It's sometimes like this. It's tough to get exactly what you want to say out, but for me, it's I just feel so bad for his family, and mainly for him as a kid. It's just so sad, and such a tough thing to talk about. And I'd never want to see anything like that happen to anyone, but someone so, again, talented and a kid that everyone likes so much. It's really rocked everybody. And I just, like you said, Connor, I just everyone from the Seahawks just really offers our condolences. And I just hope, if we can help in any way, we'll be right there. And we'll definitely be showing our appreciation for him the first games of the year. But yeah, it's been a real tough week.
No, it certainly has. And of course, as we previously just said, we've got to hope that everyone bands around the hockey community to support Alex's friends, families, the players who played with him, just to make sure that as a community we make sure that we can put things in place just to obviously try and ease the pain that those people will have felt over the past few weeks. And as you've just mentioned, if the people of Sheffield, if the Seahawks can help out in any way, I'm sure there'll be none limit of people willing to lend a helping hand or some kind words. We will move on though to some news that broke Friday evening. and that's the Seahawks have got a new player on the roster in a two-way deal with the Widnes Wild, Matty.
Yeah, young lad called Reese. Reese Edwards. He's funny. He's a funny kid, and he came up sort of. I guess last season I kept my eye on sort of the league below and the numbers and stats and stuff like that on how that league is and kids that are coming through. You've always got to keep sort of your hand on it and see where kids are coming through. And obviously we've seen this year with Owen. And Owen plays a big part in this because Owen's a really good friend of Reese's. They've played together for a long time. And I asked Owen about him. I asked a couple of other people about him as well. And he's a really talented kid. And I think this is a signing for not only now, but I think for years to come. And like Owen, same thing. These kids have got a lot to learn and a lot to improve on. But yeah, I mean, watching him in practice, we've had him down this summer. We've been skating once a week, and we've had a workout as well before that with the young guys, and he's putting the work in, and he wants it, and you watch him out there, and he's sort of like he's a natural player. He's got he's got great hands. He's got a knack for scoring goals.
Yeah, I've seen from his stat line, 27 points in 29 last year.
Yeah, yeah, for a 16-year-old kid, it's pretty impressive in that league. So yeah, he's going to be with Widnes, and he'll play their games and get plenty of minutes with them, and then he'll be with us on practice, and yeah, he'll be filling in as well, and adding some depth to our team. And I really wanted to try and get four lines together this year because of what we saw last year and struggling with players in depth. I had to address that, and kids like Reese and Owen and players that we've already got that are going to add the depth. But the big thing for me is getting these kids on the ice with us in practice and getting to skate with the likes of Bobby and Bobby Chamberlain and all the lads that are there, Deck Barmer and Emil and everybody else that that's signed for us, because that's where you learn the most, skating with these guys and seasoned professionals that have played in this league for a long time or different leagues around the world. And that's how I learned when I was younger. You watch players, you try and take as much out of their game as you can. And someone like Reese, he listens and he takes it all in, but he's also got a little bit about him as well that I like. He's got a bit of a chirpy side to him. He's not scared to just get involved straight away. He's on the ice, and he's showing his skills and shooting the puck hard. And yeah, I think he's going to be an exciting one for us. And the fans, yeah, I think they'll enjoy Reese and the sort of game he plays. He's a little firebug out there. He'll be everywhere over the ice, and yeah, like you say, young kids like that, it's always good to see.
No, certainly can't wait to see our new number 5 on the ice for the Hull Seahawks at some point next year. But I think it's finally time for us to move on to the main reason we're all here listening or creating the episode here today on Behind the Curtain, and that is we want to get to know a bit more about Bobby Young, the new Seahawks centre. So once again, I know we've said this already, but Bobby, thanks very much for joining us. And the fans that I've spoken to throughout the week online and in person, they just can't wait to sort of hear from you and hear a little bit about your career so far and about the move to the UK. So they're absolutely buzzing for this one.
Yeah, no, it's been a fun week just with all the posts you guys have done, and then I've gotten like a bunch of DMs on Instagram from local fans and stuff like that, and it's making things very exciting. I mean, I've had multiple people just message me saying how excited they are for me to come, and then a couple funny ones saying that the fans are pretty rowdy and
They
got
can
my
be
back.
sometimes.
So, which is exciting to hear, though. It's fun to hear.
No, I'm sure you'll absolutely love playing at the Hull Ice Arena. I say Matty will attest to this one as well. When that crowd is rocking, it really is it's a fun place to play, isn't it?
Oh, when they've got your back here, mate, they've definitely got your back. Yeah, it's like I say, one of the best places to play when that place is rocking, and I'm sure they'll be definitely rocking watching Bobby out there. So yeah, it's fun.
And so we can't wait to certainly see that in action. We'll speak a little bit more about that later on in the pod. But I just want to start off, Bobby, by asking a quick question personally that I just want to learn a little bit more about, to be honest. We spoke a lot with, British players on the pod so far. And of course, as a hockey fan in the UK, that's what you get accustomed to. I want to know about, what is it like growing up with hockey in North America, particularly in Canada, in Ontario, Canada, where you've grown up? Playing hockey in the UK, you're often forced into football or rugby or cricket. These are the sports that everyone wants you to play. And if you go slightly off piste and like someone like Matty did, and you play ice hockey, it's a slightly odd one. Whereas I imagine where you are in Ontario, it is the sport. That's what you grow up and want to play.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, I grew up just, watching hockey with my dad. He was a player himself for quite a long time. And then, I got into it pretty early. I think I started skating around 3 or 4, something like that. But yeah, no, I jumped right into it, and it was, started off with just, minor hockey. And then every winter as I grew up, it was playing pond hockey with all my friends, which was awesome. But no, it's definitely, there's definitely a few people that I think almost everyone actually growing up started playing soccer at first. Well, football is what you guys call it. But, yeah. And then you kind of veer off. And I was actually a ski racer as well. So I started off did ski racing and hockey. And then it got to a point where I had to pick one of them. And, hockey seemed like the route for me. And just because, any hockey player will tell you, just loving the game and loving hanging out in the locker room with the guys, just having fun. But yeah, no, I think the majority of my friends, almost everyone, has played hockey at some point in their lives.
Was there a little bit of pressure on yourself to make that decision to play hockey rather than the ski racing because of your dad playing?
Not really. My parents were very, easygoing with that decision. They just wanted what was best for me and whatever I wanted to do. And I think at the time, my parents thought I was going to pick ski racing just because I was kind of a late bloomer in the hockey realm. Wasn't the biggest goal scorer, point getter when I was younger, and then kind of took a turn and things started to pick up for me. But at the time, I'm pretty sure my parents thought I was going to choose ski racing because I was definitely a little bit better at that at the time. But they were very, very open to whatever decision I was making.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. So what I want to talk about now, you've mentioned about, playing, minor hockey, as a youngster. What is that journey like of deciding you want to play hockey? How do you get from the pond to the NCAA? What is that journey like for a young person?
Well, a lot of kids, especially after our minor midget year, which is the year before the OHL draft year, most people kind of strive to go to the OHL and from there wherever. But I never got drafted, and it wasn't really probably developed enough at the time. And my older brother, he went to a prep school in the US, a high school, and played hockey there. And I ended up following in his footsteps a little bit. I wasn't too familiar with NCAA hockey, didn't know a ton about college hockey until I followed my brother and went to a school called Kimball Union Academy, which I played 3 years there and where I got to learn a ton about the college scene. And, it's very, very different because everyone in the US who plays high school hockey their goal is to play college hockey. And it was cool to learn how big it is over there, especially compared to Canada, where college hockey maybe isn't as big as in the US. So I kind of just went over there to the US to play a little bit of high school hockey. And then from there kind of learned a lot about the college scene and made it very attractive for me and made it a goal of mine. And then went from the US back to Canada, and I played in British Columbia for a little bit. more just a cup of coffee. And then I got traded to a team in Alberta, which ended up being, one of the best things for me is how I ended up at Holy Cross.
As you can see, the stat lines from that sort of year and a half in Alberta, it seemed like pretty good years, successful years. And that's obviously, as you said, helped you to get to Holy Cross. Did that sort of put you on their radar, did it?
Yeah, no, I had two great years with two amazing teams. Great group of guys both years who definitely, we all were helping each other to try to move on to the next level. And, those two teams definitely helped me in that aspect. And then I got a couple looks from Holy Cross. They started talking to me my second year. And then right around Christmas time, got into more serious conversations, and I ended up committing to go there.
So, in terms of obviously you committing to go to a college, to play hockey there, this is alien to 95% of the British sporting fan base, because university sports are absolutely nothing like that over here, are they, Matty? It's all recreational. You simply play for fun on a Wednesday evening and then probably go for a drink afterwards. Or you mainly go for the drink afterwards, I think, in case of most sports over here at university. But it's its own complete different thing over in the States, isn't it? It's essentially in a lot of major towns, they are the major teams. There's huge fan bases behind a lot of these college teams, and a lot of the college relies on the success of its sports teams. They are essentially businesses as well, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I mean,
sorry, go ahead.
sorry, bud. Yeah, no. You obviously know a lot more than me about this, Bobby, but I was just gonna jump in there and say about, yeah, the college system over here is not anywhere near the same. University stuff over here is not. Um, it's not made as it's not a premium on actually the school itself. It's not like someone would go because of that program or something like that. Maybe at Loughborough or something like that. But yeah, I mean, you're dealing with, sport in general over there is sort of in a different business sense in a way. Like, the fan bases really do jump on board with like colleges and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, over here you've got a lot of support with professional teams and setups, but in the amateur, you would call it amateur, really is what it is. But again, I think it's really it's a semi-professional setup, really, in terms of them guys are basically there. They're on a professional setup. They're training every day. They're playing every day. You've got your schoolwork, but again, Bobby, you know more about that. But yeah, Connor, just to answer your question, yeah, it's alien to us. It's very different.
No, that's why I want to get really stuck into it. So, what is it actually like, being a young person? How old will you have been when you went to Holy Cross, Bobby? Will it have been around 1920?
Yeah, I think I was 20, turning 21 my first year.
And of course,
Sorry, go
turning
ahead.
21, going straight into sort of, the college system, the pressure of both the educational side of things, but also, you're on, the college hockey team, and that is in itself, a business there to, to draw fans in and to create, fantastic hockey players, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, the best way to kind of look at it from the business side is, I think hockey's on its way there, but it's not exactly like basketball and American football, and quite yet, in the sense where if you look at like American football, especially, you'll see at some schools like 70,000 fans per game, and it's quite cool to see. Actually, I was at a bit of a smaller school. We did have a great football team, but so I wouldn't say the stands were as packed as maybe like a school in Texas, but it's I wouldn't say there's a tremendous amount of pressure on that side though, just because you go in and you wanna succeed and you want to do well, especially when for me personally at least the guys at Holy Cross were incredible, created such a good atmosphere, and we did a couple good stuff in the community as well. So which, definitely helps when to get fans to come in. But Yeah, no, it is a whole different animal, especially even the US compared to Canada. It's quite cool once you're actually in it to realize how supportive and how many loyal fans there are for even a small school like Holy Cross. So we would have a couple of fans who were at every game, home and away, 5 hours away from Worcester, and they'll travel, which is, it's fun to see.
No, obviously we can't imagine it, but I'm a fan of all American sports, and I know exactly what you mean regarding sort of the American football. You think of it's often in sort of the bigger towns and cities that don't have an NFL franchise, or same with the NBA, isn't it as well? Those towns and cities that don't have an NBA franchise, they are sort of the center of the town. I'm thinking like place like Clemson. I'm thinking there's some really great teams. I'm thinking Texas Longhorns that have, even up to 100,000. Michigan get huge support across all of their sort of college sports teams just because of where they're based. There's not much else in the nearby vicinity. But just wanted to move on now to actually talking about the level of hockey, in the NCAA, because this is another thing that a lot of people in the UK might not understand, this how good the level of hockey is in that league. It's a case of you've got the best colleges, from across the whole of the United States. And I know it's broken up into sort of divisions based on geography as well, isn't it? But there are the best young hockey players in the United States, and some are coming across from the Canadian border as well, who want to try and make it in the pro leagues. That is what they're doing for 4 years. They're trying to learn and develop as a hockey player, and to progress their career any way they can.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, when you look at even the draft yesterday, I don't even know how many NCAA guys that got drafted, but I saw a stat where there were a couple in the first round, and then it kind of just weeds through there. There's a ton of guys getting drafted. And I mean, the level for me, especially moving up from high school to college, or even junior hockey, sorry, to college, just the pace of play was super fast. In junior, you'll have teams with one or two good lines, and then once you get to college, there's four lines of great players. Like you could be going out against someone's fourth line and then get absolutely dominated if you're not ready for it. Yes, and actually my league was definitely a little bit grittier as well, and that was a big aspect, for me, especially one of my first practices with Holy Cross in general. I believe he was a junior at the time. We were doing an inter squad game, and I passed the puck and wasn't really ready for a hit, and he hit me pretty damn hard into the glass, and I was like, okay, so that's what I'm getting myself into now. But no, I guess like as you go up in hockey, that's kind of a typical thing. The pace of play increases, I guess just the sheer size of players and how strong guys are increases. So kind of just that aspect was probably the biggest, but then you're not going to come across a guy that doesn't have any skill either. So you just kind of got to be on your toes at all times, or you might get, danced around by someone.
No, I imagine you can't really look your way into an NCAA Div 1 college team. So I say once you're on the college team, and then it's a case of just wanting to develop as a player. And I say I've looked across sort of your stat line across the 4 years, and so the points increase each year. Is it just a case of getting more time on the ice, trying to pick up more points where you can, and develop as a player and add more to the squad?
Yeah, no, definitely. I think as I progressed in college, I definitely got a little bit more playing time, and just the confidence as well. Just as an older guy, especially once you get to be a fourth year, you got younger guys looking up to you who, like, especially as a freshman, you're nervous. You don't know exactly what you're getting into your first couple of games. So you kind of just want to, look out for guys. And then in the points aspect, I think it was just, like I said before, a little bit more playing time, more confidence, and then just for me, it was more just like playing in my role within the team and chipping in exactly or wherever I can help out.
No, no, sure. That's exactly what Seahawks fans will want to hear. It's what me and Matty sort of semi-discussed last week. That, want and need to just try and help the team out wherever possible. I'm just going to take a moment at this point of the pod to point out that we have had a lot of fan questions coming in, who want to ask Bobby some questions. So I've saved a lot for the Q&A at the end, but there are a couple that will be actually fed into the main interview because they're exactly what everyone's going to want to hear. So we may as well spend some time on them. And one of those was that someone has asked, have you had any friends that have played over here in the UK? If so, what have you heard about coming over here to the UK, the standard of hockey and also the living aspect of things? Are you imagining it to be very, very different, I imagine?
I don't have any like friends directly, but I know a few people like through my brother and then just through other guys that I've played with. Um, but the main thing I've heard is actually a good friend of mine's husband is from Leeds. So a guy named Sean Allen. I don't know if that rings a bell to anyone, but give him a little shout out. He's kind of giving me a rundown on Hull and Leeds and kind of just around the area. And, it seems a little bit different, but, I've heard it's not too big of a culture shock, especially, I mean, it helps that, everyone speaks English as well. So that'll be nice for me. But, yeah, I haven't heard too much. I gotta ask Sean definitely a few more questions, but he's kind of giving me a little bit of a rundown, which is made it fun and exciting just to hear what kind of town Hall is and Leeds too. And he mentioned Newcastle as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to know the area a little bit more.
I'm sure we'll hear a lot about those places where he managed, of course, being based in Hull, our rivalry with Leeds. And I believe Nathan Salem's from not too far away from Newcastle.
That's
Sorry, can
true.
you say it again? I missed
Yeah.
that.
I was saying, of course, he'll be based in Hull. We've got a tremendous rivalry with Leeds. They are our closest major city down the road, so bit of a love-hate relationship certainly there. Maybe leaning more towards the hate side. And then, of course, Nathan Salem, one of the Seahawks players. He's from not too far away from Newcastle, isn't he, Matty?
Yeah, yeah. He's from up there, isn't he? So you won't understand a word he says. That's a guarantee. He's definitely sounds. You say English, but some lads here don't sound English, which is funny.
There's a few regional accents that may present themselves to Bobby at some point down the line. Um, for such a small island, there's certainly quite a varied accent across the UK. Just going to want to bring this one to you now, Matty, actually, to bring you back into the fold, really. Obviously, you don't want to give too much away about your sources over maybe in the States, but how was it that you came about finding Bobby? Of course, playing NCAA Div 1. But as Bobby, admitted himself on maybe a smaller college compared to some in the States, how was it you came across the talents of Bobby Young?
Um, I mean, look at the primarily his agents. You speak to a lot of agents. Bobby came up really early actually. And I spoke to, Bobby's agent. He was a really good guy, and we've had plenty of conversations over the summer. And yeah, I mean, look, you get sent plenty of guys and plenty of different players, and we've spoke about it a little bit, Connor, already, but I think for me, it's not just about looking at what's sort of in front of you in terms of, you would think, oh, yeah, points, what did he get? This, that. And I think you have to be a little bit smarter with what you're trying to look for. With Bobby, that like for me, this is the biggest signing that I had to make this summer because um look, the way we was last year, Bobby knows about it. We've spoke a little bit, but we we really missed that depth, but we really missed top guys that could really deliver on a night in night basis. And We really relied on Emil a lot last year, and obviously Nathan, and Towner chipping in. But and I think we spoke about this with Towner. But if we have to rely on that, to sort of win games, then you know I think we're going to be struggling. This league is getting better every year, and I think everyone can agree this league is really pushed on this year. And I think everyone can see by the signings that it's going to be a really tough league this year. And I think for me, it was about bringing someone in that, honestly, that could do everything. I wanted an out and out first line center that I know I can rely on. He can play in every situation. You know, Again, doing quite a bit of research on Bobby, watching video on Bobby. I've probably watched his highlight video probably 20 times now, just because of like I said to you, this signing for me is huge, and I know that if I got this right, um, like I think I have, we can completely change what we are with what we've added around Bobby. And when I first spoke to Bobby, and he'll remember this conversation, but um, I can be pretty upfront and honest, and we all know that about me. But I think the words were something like, "Will you just sign now, Bobby? Like, just sign right now." Like, just because like of everything sort of I was saying to him and what he was saying back to me, like I just knew that he was the guy that A, like the type of person he was, but B, the sort of player that Bobby is. And the players that we've signed already, like Emil and Bobby Chamberlain and Bonner, all these guys around that are very talented, forwards that can score goals and put up really, points very, very easily in terms of like what they've shown in the past. I mean, we know what Emil did last season, and I simply said to Bobby, we've got a guy that was a goal a game last year, and I think he was licking his lips. And again, Bobby's what I would like to say, like an out and out center, an old school centerman that can, do everything. But for me, it was, I asked him a question: is he a pass first player? And he is, and that is what I wanted. I wanted someone that can be in the middle of the ice, distribute the puck well, but also be, really take the puck to the net as well, and be, on the front foot and shoot and make plays, but also be direct when he needs to be. And that's, exactly what I think we have with Bobby. And again, I think this signing takes us to another level in terms of what we have first, second, third line. And yeah, so that's how it came up. Just doing research, speaking to agents, and speaking to Bobby himself was the key.
No, certainly, sir. And it sort of leads me on. I did actually have, I believe this one may have actually been Simon Bromwich from Beverly FM, actually, who asked me this one. And it was a case of, would you rather have more assists or more goals? But from what you've said, I may add a third option in there, which was it doesn't really matter as long as the puck's in the back of the net.
Yeah.
Is that how you'd see it, Bobby?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I goals, assists, whatever comes, as long as we're winning, I'm good with it.
No, and I'm sure it will just balance really well. I think, as you've mentioned, was you've got Emil, who's very much a shoot first player, and Bobby Chamber on the other side, quite happy to take a shot whenever. So to have someone who can feed them the puck in the right position is exactly what's needed. As I say, we did have two imports last year who both just wanted to get pucks on net, didn't we? With Andre as well, Matty.
Yeah, there was similar players, and I think it sort of cancelled, sort of one of them out, and unfortunately, that was Temi at times. And don't get me wrong, he put up good numbers, and we saw the best of Temi at times. But yeah, look, I think this is a different. This is not even like replacing, Temi, Bobby with Temi, so like Temi with Bobby. Sorry, it's more of just a different route completely. And look, it's how I see it, and I think, for me, this is how I see the team fitting, and I think for me, again, like we've said it before, but this league is going a little bit more North American than we've seen previously. Back in I suppose, the Brexit days before that, it was very much a European league in this league, and the elite league took a lot of North Americans, but now obviously with Brexit, we are now seeing a lot more North Americans come to this league, and with Leeds last season, we've said it already, Walcombe and Cooper and all these guys,
Talking of Brandon Walcombe, I believe you played for Bentley in your division in the NCAA Div 1, I believe, Bobby. And he made quite an impact on this division last year. So I'm sure not only wanting to follow in the footstep, but surpass them as well. You'd want to quite happily go past the points total of a former NCAA rival.
Yeah, no, our two schools might have had a little rivalry going as well. They're about like 40 minutes from us, so I remember him as a player. He was a very good player as well. But no, that would be fun. I know a couple of guys on Bentley who would probably give him the business if that were to happen. So
I'm not sure if you're aware of his stat line. I don't know if you want me to put the pressure on or.
Sure, go for it. Sure.
87 points in 56 games, Brendan Walcombe. So there's a bit of a target there.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm sure Hull fans would absolutely love you to go and absolutely blow that out the water. But next one, Bobby. So, and this sort of follows on from what Maddie was saying about the meeting you had where he may have asked you to sign on the spot. What was it? What was the draw for yourself in order, if Matty sat there going, sign now, what was it that drew you into actually going in what the Seahawks is the right idea? Did you have many other offers around? Where were they? Were they also UK based? What was the reason you signed on the dotted line with Hull?
Well, yeah, no, I did have a few other offers. Another one was in the UK, one was France, the other in Germany. But for me, it was really just, I had more conversations with Matty than anyone else. And after getting to know him a little bit, it became clear that, he had some good trust in me, and that trust was reciprocated. And I, getting to know him and seemed like such a good guy. And now I know he is. But it was just kind of, getting a read for the coach was kind of the biggest thing for me for signing, because every place that I had an offer is somewhere that I've never been before. So it was going to be a big change of lifestyle, no matter where I signed. But for Matty, it was the sheer honesty. He gave me the rundown on last season, and explained it in terms that was, cut and dry. And, it just seemed like a great culture. And, for the biggest part was just getting to know Matty more and talking to him. He, really just gave it to me straight. And that's a big thing for me. It's something that, I always tell my dad, especially after a hockey game, like, don't blow smoke up. I'll leave that out of there. But just give it to me straight. Let me know how I played. Blah blah blah. And I said the same thing to Matty, and he gave it to me straight, and just seemed like the right coach and right place for me.
Talking of your dad, maybe wanting to give you a few comments on the game. Make sure he's watching the live streams this year. I'll just plug that one now, Matty. Shall I?
Yeah, get it in, mate. Get it in. We'll get the old man watching, see what he thinks.
So my next one, Bobby, is so when is it that you plan to actually get out here to the UK and get on the ice with the rest of the guys? Because I spoke with Matty a few weeks ago regarding about pre-season really ramping up into what is likely going to be a bit of a Yorkshire Cup. It's not yet confirmed, but there's talks going on there. But it's going to become a period where everyone needs to get on the ice and to try and gel this team before the first day of the league comes around. So and I'm sure this is one that Matty told you cut and dry as well in one of the meetings, that we didn't quite get our imports from day one last year. So obviously fans would love you to be there and sort of ready gelled with the team for the start of the national division. So when is it that you plan to head out?
I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, we're still waiting really. Basically, I can answer that because it's sort of day to day at the minute. So obviously like fixtures play a big part in it, and also visas. So everyone now is basically waiting for Ice Hockey UK now to send the relevant information back for Bobby, and then once we get it and the other lads, then yeah, he'll go sort his visa and we'll help him do that. And then yeah, I think look, we're looking around the 1st of September, around that date. And then yeah, I think the first games are likely about the 9th, 8th, 9th, I think that weekend. So yeah, it's coming around fast. It's coming a lot faster than I thought it would, and there's so much to do still. But yeah, I mean for Bobby, he's fine. He's just gonna come in and settle in with the boys, and we'll have a tough couple of weeks of practice there. We'll be on the ice every day. And yeah, it'll be good. We'll have some tough games like we did last year, Connor, it'll be similar. And then yeah, we fly into the season and get ready to go.
And talking of sort of settling in with the rest of the boys, you mentioned you've had some DMs from fans, but have you had much contact to any of the rest of the players yet, Bobby?
Um, I've gotten a few follows. Haven't spoken directly with them yet. But so I'm sure we'll get that going very soon though.
I'm sure Bobby will fit right in, won't he, Matt? It's a pretty fun, but it's a room full of characters, isn't it? The Seahawks dressing room.
Oh yeah, it'll be probably eye-opening for Bobby at times, but they'll take him, open arms. They'll all have his back, and it's very apparent that, and everyone knows this, but like, the imports are like gold dust here, and like they'll there's two people that I already that I don't need to mention their names. I'll
There's
have
one with is what DB and BC come to your mind, Matty?
it could be a couple of B's in there and C's, and yeah. So them two look there, that the leaders, and with the other boys in there as well. But yeah, he'll just be brought right in, and the family everyone will take good care of Bobby. He'll be made to feel at home and welcome here as much as possible. And again, that's what we're trying to do here, make sure everyone's comfortable and in what we're doing. Bobby's also going to be, fingers crossed, hopefully going to be going into university and doing his masters as well. So we have a big meeting in next week after about that. So yeah, that's a big part of it for Bobby as well. And we need to try and get that for Bobby, and he's big on that, and I've given my word on that. We'll try our best, and yeah, so he's going to be busy doing that as well. So he's going to have lots to do. Yeah, practice and a lot of games like this league. For him is probably going to be a little bit of a difference in terms of just the amount of games that we play. In terms of practice, that he'll be completely used to that. They practice every day, but the games here, and just the amount of minutes that Bobby's going to play, and sort of in them pressure moments and playing them big minutes that, I guess you just don't get to do that when you're playing in such a league like the NCAA, like Division One. There's so many guys, like Bobby said. There's so many top guys. There's so many, guys that can play in different roles. And Bobby had a role last year, and he'll be the same here. His role here is just going to be a lot more. So he's going to be, he's going to have a few hats on. So that's good. And he's going to be busy. But yeah, he'll fit right in. Everyone here will make him feel, as welcome as we can, and all the fans will get right behind Bobby, and hopefully he enjoys his time here, and that's what we want.
No, certainly. So I imagine sort of through the NCAA calendar, the games are pretty spread out. I imagine there's no chance of too many double headers and even the odd triple header is as there is in the UK.
Yeah, no, we actually typically do it's usually 2 game weeks, never really like maybe once. I think we maybe had 1 or 2 weeks where we had 3 games, but never back to back to back. It was mostly just we would either travel to another team and play 2 games in their rink, or if it was a team like Bentley, like we mentioned before, we would do one home, one away just because they were so close. But um, our league was a little bit more spread out, so it was um, tough to do more than 2 games in a week. Like we had a couple teams that were in New York, which was probably around 5 hours for us, and then we had another team in Colorado, which was a flight for the team. So that was only once a year, luckily. But I mean, the trip was a lot of fun. The trip was a lot of fun, but it is not fun to play in Colorado with the altitude there.
I'm as Matty knows, I'm a Denver sports fan. I'm a Bronco, Avalanche, Nuggets, and Rockies fan. So I know a little bit about the altitude, and I know it's a very, very long way from Massachusetts. So
yes, yeah.
I can't imagine. We certainly won't be needing many flights this year, will we, Matty? At least that's one thing. I don't know.
No, there'll be no flights. It's always pretty far now, but no, we'll be definitely on the bus. Definitely no flights.
Last one before we sort of go on to sort of the major or the fans Q&A, Bobby, is targets and goals for the year. Of course, Matty's just alluded to one there. There's maybe an off-ice goal as well, and that's obviously to continue education with a master's degree over here. But so as he committing to what is going to be at least sort of 9 months over here in the UK, goals for yourself, maybe on and off the ice, personal goals for your time over here, and at least your first season in Hull. We'll leave that open door at the end.
Yeah, for me personally, I don't. I definitely set a high standard for myself, but I don't like to look at it in like a points wise or something like that. I think on ice, the goals that I'd be more looking for are just team based. I definitely want us to, win as many games as possible this season. Hope definitely land at the top of the league, and hopefully we can make a good run in playoffs. So I'd say, I guess everyone would probably say this, but for on ice goals, I love to win the league with the team and try to go as far in playoffs as possible. Off ice though, I've actually never been to Europe at all. So I'm definitely, looking forward to experiencing the culture in Hull and just I guess becoming more familiar with different parts of the world. And, I guess NBA wise, definitely tackle that and hopefully that works out I think that would be a couple goals for me there.
It'll be a busy, busy year, certainly so. We're going to move on now to some fan questions. So the first few, we're going to stick with hockey. First one, someone's asked, do you follow an NHL team?
Yeah, I do actually. I am a big fan of the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's been a tough couple of years watching playoffs, but they'll figure it out sometime, I'm sure.
Tough one. Yeah.
My partner is also a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, so I know the pain. I've been there and sat with them through it. But certainly, I say maybe a few changes around the corner this year with Kyle Dubas, now in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a pretty possibly a turbulent couple of years. Of course, there's the contract negotiations coming up with Nylander and Matthews. Marner's not too far away from one down the line as well.
Yeah, no, it'll be interesting to see what happens there. I'm not. Well, you could ask my dad. He would have a lot more opinions than me. But we'll see. Hopefully things work out there and they start to turn it around.
For my partner's sake, and for myself, stress levels at playoff time, I certainly hope so too. Next one, hockey hero.
Ooh, I guess I'd have to say Sidney Crosby. Ever since I was young, I still got jersey in my closet that's about a kid small or something like that. I think I used to be a big Pittsburgh fan as well. I'm pretty sure that's just because of Crosby, but growing up, I just used to love watching him, and uh, just the way he plays the game is, and how long he's been doing it for is incredible. Just, he's probably one of the best puck protectors in the game. He sees the ice well. He can move. Got a great shot. I mean, it's just he's a fun player to watch.
Certainly so, and I believe they kick off their season against Chicago, so it'll be maybe the leader of the old gen versus the new generation in Connor
Yeah.
Bedard this year.
Yeah, no, he's going to be a fun player to watch too. That's
Yeah.
especially watching the World Juniors. He put on quite the show there.
Certainly. So next one is actually we'll follow off for that one because they did actually ask both questions. A hero that's non-hockey based, someone else you've maybe looked up to.
That's a good question. I think I'm non-hockey based. I'd probably have to go with my two brothers. I got two older brothers who have, been huge advocates of mine since day one, obviously. But they're both two successful guys right now who work hard and in what they do. My oldest brother Billy, he's actually just upstairs right now. But my middle brother Joey, he's kind of down over your way. He lives in Norway right now. He was a ski racer. My oldest brother, he was the hockey player as well. But I guess those two guys, they work hard, great people, kind to everyone, and just a lot of fun to be around. And they're definitely two people that I strive to be like.
I'm sure Norway won't be too long a flight or a ferry. You'll have to try and get your brother down to a game at some point this coming season. The next one is, do you follow any other sports? I know we've mentioned already, you played a bit of, soccer, ski racing as well, but is there any other sports that you still follow now? And if so, I'm not sure if you've had a look at the other sports available in the city. Is that anything you plan to get your teeth into whilst you're here?
I haven't done that yet, but that's I'm sure once I talk to some of the guys, they'll get me comfortable with all that. But I follow most of the Toronto teams. Like the Raptors are fun to watch as well. Big basketball fan. Used to love to play that with my friends when I was younger.
Well, Martin, my regular co-host of this podcast, actually, he's a Raptors fan too, so I'm sure you'll have a good.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, he does the co-commentary with us on the live stream, so I'm sure at some point on the rink he'll have a good chinwag with you about the Raptors.
Yeah. No, they've been. They didn't have the best year last year, but I can tell you, I remember exactly where I was when they won the championship a few years ago. So. But Raptors, and then I watch a little bit of Blue Jays, keep up with them. But yeah.
I'm watching a little bit of baseball, but I say as a Colorado fan, you're forced to watch the Rockies, and that's just not very fun at all. So next question is, other than maybe sports, you've mentioned you're getting stuck into further education and maybe a little bit of just getting to know the town. But is there anything in particular that you're looking or trying to do whilst you're here in the UK? It can be Hull based, it can be further afield. Is there any bucket list things for your time over here?
Well, like I was mentioning earlier, my good friend's husband Sean, who's from Leeds, he was giving me a kind of a rundown on the fish and chips thing going down in Hull and Leeds. Apparently, he was mentioning something about how it was. Oh, what was he saying? It was like Leeds eats one type of fish and Hull eats the other. Something.
It'll be haddock and cod, I assume.
Yeah. That's what it was. That's what it was. I got a good laugh at that. But no, I think when I'm over in Europe, kind of just I'd love to see or like kind of take a deep dive into what the city of Hull is all about and kind of learn the history of it there. I'm not sure how much time I'll have for this, but I would love to just kind of see around the UK and visit some other cities and yeah, kind of just get familiar with the UK in general, because I don't know a tremendous uh, bunch of information about the UK right now. So I kind of just want to get familiar and just learn from as many people as I can.
Yeah, I'm sure, Matty, there'll be some points throughout the season, whether it's a week off around the Christmas break or something like that, where Bobby will get some time to maybe visit a few of our neighbouring cities, won't he?
I don't know after last year's week off. I'm not sure we need to happen. No, there'll be plenty of time. Yeah, he's gonna get to see loads of stuff, and we'll help him with that. And yeah, the boys that he's living with as well. They're obviously Emil's been here, and Liam. He's gonna be living with him as well, and he's obviously Scottish, so Edinburgh maybe around Christmas time is a good one to do.
It is. It's a lovely.
Edinburgh's great city, yeah. So yeah, we'll he'll see plenty of stuff. And we'll definitely get him down to a rugby game and a football game.
Black and white, I
Um,
hope.
it'll definitely not be red and white. So yeah, black and white. He'll go to that.
We're gonna have to
So
instill that in them now.
yeah, yeah, that's it. So no, he'll enjoy it.
Next one, Bobby, is if there's one thing you can bring with you from Canada to remind you of home, what will it be and why?
Ooh, that's a good question. There's a few things I could say, but I'll go with just the maple syrup that the local farmers grow here in Ontario is it's pretty good stuff. I'll say that.
Please bring me some of that, Bob.
Yeah,
Please.
I could try my hardest.
Yeah, lovely.
No, usually whenever I travel to the US or visit, someone's house, I'll bring like a small bottle of that because it's a hot commodity for sure.
No, that sounds absolutely fantastic. I'm sure it's gonna be much better anything you'll get in the supermarkets over here. I think, Matty. I'm sure
Yeah,
that's why you're
definitely.
already getting an order in.
Yeah, love a local proper made sauce of whatever it is. It's always better from the main guys that do it. So yeah, get me one of them then, Bob. Love a bit of that.
I can do
Well,
that.
it does actually lead us on to our final question, and this one I'm sure will give you a bit of a giggle, Matty, regarding local condiments of such. Is that have you ever heard of chip spice? And if not, are you ready for it? I've had two people ask this question, Matty. Of course, it was the first thing that came to people's minds. They're
It's
obsessed with it.
always, honestly.
I've honestly never heard of it. Never heard of it. I am I mean, I don't know, just from hearing the name of it, I am a spicy food person. So if it's spicy, I'm sure I'll love it.
I mean, the fact that they don't even call them chips over there, it's never gonna be, it'd be like there's just no chance that he's ever had it. But honestly, you will have chip spice when you come. Basically, it's just what we put on fries.
Okay. Okay.
It's like a spice, like a
Paprika, orangey salt.
yeah, like a five
Okay.
spice sort of thing. But it's good. It's really good. It's
Okay.
good.
I'm sure that's better than just the plain old ketchup everyone uses over here.
Oh yeah, but these lot here, they put it on everything. Like they literally like chicken. Like they put it on like every pizzas. They have it on everything. These lot, not cases, but
Yeah,
it is good.
it does genuinely go on everything.
Yeah,
I say you might even see it being passed around the arena on some evenings by our uh, podcast famous now 50-50 seller,
yeah.
Colin Carruthers. But no, that's pretty much all we've got time for in terms of questions. Just whilst we're here on the pod, I just want to announce that the podcast Hull Seahawks Behind the Curtain will actually be sponsoring the name plaque in the locker room of Bobby Young as well for the upcoming season. Nice little announcement. On behalf of the Behind the Curtain podcast. We've just got to say, first of all, thank you very much for you, Bobby, for joining us. Absolute pleasure to get to know you. And I'm sure everyone listening to this, whether it be, at home in Hull, further afield, as we do have some, by the looks of things, some international listeners as well, which is great. And I'm hoping, Bobby, that you can finally get us our first Canadian listener through this one. Make sure you spread this one wide and far.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate you having me on. It's as it's been the summer's been progressing, it's becoming, more and more real. And it's especially when, the team posted all about the signing. It was pretty exciting day. A lot of people reached out, which was awesome. But it's been great so far, and I'm sure it's only going to get better. But thanks again for having me on the podcast.
Not a problem at all. Pleasure as always, and hopefully throughout the season you'll come back and join us once again.
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt.
I'm going to say thank you very much for joining us, Matty. As always, pleasure to have you on once again.
Yeah, always my pleasure, mate, to come on and chat with it. It's great to meet Bobby, and hopefully the fans enjoyed meeting him, and excited to see him over here and play. It's good.
No, I'm sure they're all
time.
super excited for that. Come September when the season gets going. I've just got to say, I've been Connor Lynn. We hope you've enjoyed episode 6 of the Hull Seahawks Behind the Curtain podcast with Bobby Young. Make sure that you like, follow, share, and subscribe to our YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and wherever else you get your Apple Podcasts from. And make sure you tune in next week for episode 7 of Behind the Curtain.